And now, you're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
Welcome into RBLR Sports. My name is Musaab, and I hope you're having a great day or evening so far. Hey, spring is here. We're more than halfway through April, and you know what that means. NFL Draft is right around the corner next week, my friends. So before I start bouncing off the walls due to my excitement, let me give a welcome to my two awesome co-hosts and fellow teammates of Team RBLR Bucs. Lined up at the slot, the quick, the sharp, Mr. Fire the Cannons, Carter. Carter, how we doing, man?
Oh, man, calling me a slot receiver. I always thought of myself as an outside guy or a tight end, but I'll take a slot receiver. All right. But I'm definitely excited to be here. Shout out to RBLR Nation. Definitely hyped to talk some Bucs. Let's get it going. Let's get cracking.
Hey, man, the dad and swinging around me for the pitch. Clear the way, Buccaneers enemies. He's coming at your team. Team RBLR's running back, Santiago. What's up, brother?
What's going on, RBLR Nation? What's up, Musaab? What's up, Carter? Yeah, man, like a running back, Mike Pittman or Warwick Dunn, but those are legends.
I was thinking
right?
maybe what's your nickname? The Santiago Express, because you were trained.
Yeah, right. The S. I can't say S train. You know what I mean? Because but the mini choo choo. You know what I mean? Like choo choo.
The mini choo choo. Okay, I like where this is going.
The mini choo choo train. You know what I mean?
I love it. And hey, listeners, spread some love. And if you love us here at RBLR, and if you could do us a favor, and however you're listening to this, whether it be on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, I'm going to tell you this, there's probably a follow button, a like button, or a subscribe button. And it would seriously mean a lot to us here at RBLR if you do so. So, hey, also, reminder, we are on social media platforms at RBLR Sports. Well, where shall we begin, gentlemen? We are going to go into some enemy territory today. And we're going to be looking into our divisional rivals, what's kind of going on with them, the activities they're going through, they're making, in and out players. And then on the other hand, we'll be talking about, their draft needs. And then, anything else from there. Overall, we'll finish with the kind of overall finish, the predictions, where we see these teams, going, this upcoming season, how far they will be, whether they're playoff caliber or not. An interesting division for sure. I got to say that. So let's just kind of start off with our head honcho rivals, the ones that always seem to get us for some reason. I don't know why, and it really, really irks me every single time we watch them. This is like the only team that every single time we do play them, there always tends to be this rather unwelcoming, pessimistic feeling, but it is what it is, though. We'll start off with you, Carter. Here, how about this? I'll kind of give you the rundown, the big kind of news, if anything, with the Saints, and a little friendly reminder to our listeners, as discussed before. Turn Armstead, who was a left tackle for the Saints, is headed to Miami, so he's gone. And Marcus May, safety, he is actually coming from the Jets and headed into New Orleans, or he's already in New Orleans now. Now, unfortunately, he was a replacement for Marcus Williams, a safety who was on the Saints, who is now headed to the Baltimore Ravens. So, these were discussed before, but kind of the new ones, if anything, or I can't forget, of course, Andy Dalton from Chicago, who was also kind of the big news just because, I don't know, people were talking, hey, it might be a little Winston Dalton battle, but I don't know. And then again, because of that, Trevor Siemian is headed to Chicago, by the way. Adding depth, of course, Dan Sorensen, safety from Kansas City. All right. That's the kind of big update signing wise. If anything, it's like they got a lot of kind of depth now in the safety unit. I'm sure Carter and Santiago, you all have something to say about that for sure. Just a few little final ones. Quan Alexander is still an the unsigned free agent right now. He is looking to actually meet with the New York Jets. So there's something to think about that. Taco Charlton has joined them just to kind of maybe, if anything, a little depth piece. And the last thing is just Jarvis Landry. We can, by all means, talk about that a little bit after we kind of talk about the big updates. So after everything I've said, Carter, is there any kind of certain player you want to discuss? How do you feel about this? Just because, hey, listen, we've already kind of talked about this before. There was a time that even the Buccaneers, of course, it was a big kind of mystery mark with, what kind of offseason moves is this NFC South division going to be making? And here's what's happened so far for the Saints. So what's your kind of offseason report card for them?
I mean, the Saints are always such a weird team in this post-Drew Brees era because they went all in with the Brees era with all those, what the Bucs are doing right now, the voidable years to try to free up some cap space. And they've been doing that for so long. And it's coming time to pay the piper. All those voidable years are, coming back around to bite them. But they also lost Sean Payton, their head coach. And that's a huge loss because they had to replace him with Dennis Allen, who has an atrocious head coaching record. So, yeah, I mean, losing Teron Armstead really hurts. They made that deal with Miami Dolphins to get an extra first-round pick, but they gave up next year – or, excuse me, not the Miami Dolphins, the Philadelphia Eagles. But they gave up their first-round pick next year to do so. So we'll see if they use one pick for a receiver, the other for a tackle. We'll get into all that as well. But, yeah, overall so far I'd give it probably a C+. I mean, they were dealt a tough hand with losing Sean Payton, but they managed to re-sign Winston, kind of give themselves a bridge quarterback in case they want to maybe spend, a first or a second round pick on a quarterback, a guy they want to sit down for a few years. So we'll see how the draft goes. That's definitely going to be a big determining factor, but so far they're not looking too good. I'll just say that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah, they look rather interesting. So I guess I want to know, Carter, I mean, at this point, I mean, it's already kind of late in the off season, or it's like literally like the kind of final week before the draft starts as well. Listen, by all means, there are still technically opportunities to get some big, big players who are still unsigned as of right now. But do you think that's actually something they're looking into, or they're kind of maybe looking to kind of fill in the depth pieces on the back end and then maybe try to focus or try to be a little bit more risky in the NFL draft? Or, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, with the Saints, it's difficult to tell because they have some really solid veteran players still on that defense. And offensively, I mean, Michael Thomas is still there. Alvin Kamara is still there. So they could very much have a very competitive team this year if they wanted to. So like you mentioned, Jarvis Landry, he's a Louisiana native. Maybe he gets a hometown discount. Maybe the Saints are able to sign him for a little less. There's also been rumors of Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger. Tyrann's also a Louisiana native. He's actually a New Orleans native, so kind of a similar situation there. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's tough to say because they could say, all right, let's try to retool this roster. Maybe we'll be good in a few years, try to find a franchise quarterback. But they could also say, hey, Jameis was looking good last year before he tore his ACL. He was looking solid. Wasn't earth-shatteringly good or anything, but he seemed to control the turnovers. And that's as we know very well as Bucs fans, that's his biggest issue. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a tough thing to tell with the Saints, but I think if I was a gambling man, I think they're still going to try to be a competitive team this year. There's a salary cap hike coming in a couple years, so I'm guessing they're going to keep using those voidable years and just say, all right, let's keep trying to milk every last thing we can get out of this team. So we'll see, but yeah, I'm definitely putting my money on them still remaining very competitive.
Yeah, they should be fairly competitive, and I guess we'll see how the leadership is just because Sean Payton's gone now. But Santiago, where's your head at? What's your kind of report card for the Saints after everything I've said and after everything so far with the Saints off-season moves? How do you feel?
Well, to be honest with you, both gentlemen, like the head piece of any type of team is the head coach, and, what Carter was just referring to, Sean Payton, he's a Hall of Fame coach. He had, taken, the Saints to the Super Bowl and they won their only Super Bowl up to now. And, but, all these players, some of these players like, Jarvis Landry and stuff, and he's a good player. He played in Miami he played in Miami. That's how I got to know of him when he was in the league. And then, he went, he left Miami, of course. But, and then they have Jameis Winston, so it's like, I would give, honestly, as a report card myself, a C. I'm not going to go to a D. I'll just give it a C, because, I still feel that, we are going to dominate them in the regular season, with both meetings, with what we have, done with signing players and having obviously the GOAT come back, of course. So, I do think that they are going to get a C. If they get Tyrann Mathieu, he's the Honey Badger. He ran his mouth during the Super Bowl, and I got him flags against him when he played against us, and and that's how we scored some touchdowns against him. So, if he wants to run his mouth again, during the regular season, he's going to have to be careful, because obviously referees won't tolerate that, and I feel that a lot of the teams that have or the conference that has done the most noise pretty much is the AFC East, the NFC South for us. We've been the ones with the most noise coming out, so I still fairly believe that that we will dominate them. So that's what I think.
Okay, I like it. I like it. I feel the same way as y'all. I'd probably just put them at a C. I mean, look, they lost some guys, they got some guys. Nothing really out of the blue. I think fairly some decent picks. If anything, so far. They got Dalton right now, which is like, all right. I mean, it's better than what you had before. They found a replacement for Marcus Williams. I got a lot of respect for Marcus Williams, and I think he's going to do real well on the Ravens. So I thought that was kind of an important piece that they had to let go of. They got Marcus May. We'll see how that goes. Marcus for Marcus, that was rather interesting. But then again, I mean, you just also lost your left tackle, Armstead, which is kind of key, just because your job is to protect the quarterback. Now you got to find another guy, or you got to bump someone up from backup to starter now. So their depth chart is looking interesting. By all means, we can go into that into our next segment when we talk about the draft. But that's just how I feel. I would just say C. There is only so much I really saw from them. I think the way I see it, eyes are on Jarvis Landry, of course. He is going to be paying a visit, and we'll see what goes on with that. I don't think any decision myself. I don't think he's going to be making any decision anytime soon. Probably just wait till the draft, if anything. But I don't know. What do y'all think? Do you think if they are to get him? I mean, by all means, I think it's going to cost some money for sure. This guy's a star. So we'll start off with you, Ashley. Santiago, what do you think? I mean, is it? I mean, well, yeah. I mean, well, you see this in the news, and what's your thought?
Yeah, Jarvis Landry is he is one of those wide receivers that has been in the league, and his name has, everybody that knows or follows, the NFL, they know who Jarvis Landry is, So he is a top wide receiver. But we have top wide receivers as well. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, we have two of the best in history. So, I still, if he signed, he'll be a weapon, but I still believe that, our duo is way better. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's
I mean, I guess I was just maybe wondering. I mean, it's probably going to be at a hefty cost. I feel like these days a lot of these kind of wide receivers are looking for the big bag of money wherever they can get it, and I think he would definitely be well appreciated here. And Carter, what do you think of this kind of happening? And if it does happen, I mean, I'm just saying it's going to have a kind of big impact. I mean, even look at when we'll talk about it with the Panthers, but the what do you call it? The Commanders, the new name Commanders. They had to work some cap space around for Carson Wentz, of course. So it just makes me think, if it's going to be costing some money to get a guy like Landry, then that's going to make some big changes, or not.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about a guy like Landry is that he's he's a more of a name, I feel like, at this point of his career, because his numbers have been on the down since 2017. His pretty much across the board, everything has gone down. Targets, receptions, yards, touchdowns. So I don't know that he's going to command the type of money that maybe he would have 2 or 3 years ago. But he's certainly, like I said, he's a name. He's a proven commodity. He also was dealt an incredibly tough hand having to deal with Baker Mayfield last year. So I don't know. I'm not 100% sold that he's going to be a game-changing weapon for the Saints, but you also look at the receiving core that they had last year, and maybe he is, because their receiving core last year was, they didn't have Michael Thomas, and after Michael Thomas, they get real sketchy when it comes to receivers. With all due respect to, Marquez Callaway and Deontay Harris, they are certainly not Mike Evans or Chris Godwin. I'll just say that. So yeah, if they sign Jarvis Landry, it'll be interesting to see how they use their firsts. Maybe that signals that they're going to draft a quarterback, or maybe they go tackle and then, try to get a replacement for maybe Malcolm Jenkins, because he just retired this year. So, they lost a starting safety. So I don't know.
I guess that's why they were kind of going a little bit aggressive with that, with the safety pickups. They got Sorensen, and now they also picked up Marcus May, so that makes sense. But
yeah, absolutely, they needed to, because Malcolm Jenkins provided a lot of leadership on that team. He was a captain, and he was a tremendous veteran presence in the locker room. So they've still got C.J. Gardner-Johnson, that little, annoying guy from UF, but they definitely needed to replace some key snaps from some key guys. So, we'll definitely see how the draft goes, and we'll see if they sign Jarvis Landry. But I'm not really too worried about it from the standpoint of the Bucs. They're Jarvis Landry's a little long in the tooth. That's all I'll say.
I guess I just wanted to see where your head's at, because I was thinking he had a rather interesting experience with Baker Mayfield. So. And his numbers are his numbers are going down, so he's not the same Jarvis Landry like he was before. It's just more of the name thing, and maybe perhaps on his end he's willing to compromise, and he's willing to just take any opportunity that he sees best for him. But we'll see how that turns out. And then Carter, I'm right there with you. It's not like it's going to make a huge difference. They're already looking like a very interesting team as of right now. A lot of holes to fill for sure. So a guy like him, he's not going to make a difference. So just kind of want to see where y'all said with that. And hey, on to our next rival. All right, we will start out with, or we will go next on to the Carolina Panthers. Again, just to reiterate some things we've discussed before earlier on in the offseason. First being Hassan Reddick. He's headed out to the Eagles, so definitely an important piece over there who is now gone. Austin Corbett, who is actually coming from the Rams, he's headed on now to Carolina, or already is now in Carolina. So, and then they got another kind of reliable, or hopefully an important depth piece or possible starter. That's Brad Bozeman from the Ravens, who's also joining the Panthers. Making some changes with the O-line, but, kind of still get to see what the, QB situation could possibly be. They need all the help they can get, no matter what. That's what I think. Hey, they got a little safety piece. Xavier Woods from the Vikings. Damian Wilson, linebacker from the Jaguars, is now with the Panthers. So, if anything, the QB situation is just the real big factor right now. But I do have to add, if anything, since we last kind of briefly discussed their off-season moves, Carter and Santiago, I want to let you know there's a gentleman, defensive tackle by the name of Matt. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this correct. Ioannidis. All right. He is coming from the Washington Commanders. If anything, this was like their little late off-season kind of steal. It wasn't like, OMG, look at us, we just got this hidden gem, but it was like, hey, all right, looks like, the opportunity arised for getting a guy like him, just because I'm thinking maybe more space for, getting Carson Wentz. That's what I think. But Carter, what are your overall thoughts on this? What's your report card for the Panthers offseason moves?
Yeah, the Panthers and the Falcons are both tough. but especially the Panthers. They backed themselves into a corner with that Sam Darnold trade, giving up some draft capital, and also now having to pay him, $16 million because they accepted his 5th-year option on his rookie deal.
Yikes.
Yeah, which is makes me nauseous just thinking about it. But that's the hole they've dug themselves. They kind of got to stick with Sam Darnold, and it's I guess I'd give them maybe a D. But they're kind of having to play the cards they've been dealt. They've made their bed, now they got to lay in it. All the different cliches, but yeah, it's definitely a tough situation they're in because they just lack direction. Their offensive line's a mess, and they didn't really do anything to improve it. They lost Hassan Reddick, so Brian Burns is an elite pass rusher, one of the best in the NFL, a rising star for sure. But man, he can't do it all himself. He's got to have a running mate, and they definitely lost a good one in Reddick. So I think they're going to have to find a way to replace him. The signing of Ioannidis from Washington was interesting, but is it earth-shattering? No, but he's definitely a decent interior lineman, someone to just plug in some holes, help Derek Brown, their first-round pick from 2 years ago out of Auburn. Maybe try to help mentor him, kind of a Ndamukong Suh situation. Although Ndamukong Suh, Matthew Ioannidis is not. So, we'll see how it goes. But, yeah, definitely a D from me on the Panthers. Not a great offseason, but I don't know how much better they could have done.
Yeah, honestly, Carter, neither do I. I mean, I feel like there's just some teams that just kind of stay quiet, away from the radar, and you just don't know, whatever. You wake up and you're like, okay, whoop-de-doo. That's kind of how I feel, and I have a lot more to say. But Santiago, I want to hear what's your report, Carter. You kind of agree with Carter? You're going to give them the D grade, or maybe C, maybe B, maybe F? I don't know. Where's your head at?
To be honest with you, gentlemen, this is honestly, since Brady has been with us, and I'm not going to go too much into Brady, but it's just that, we've been favorites in this division since he's been here, and now, a quarterback like, Carson Wentz, he went to the, he played in this, he was in a Super Bowl. Yeah. He won a Super Bowl. Yeah. But, it's just that I do also I'll give him a D, because it's just that, we're way above everybody in our division. I could possibly see a blowout, maybe. I don't know. It's just obviously division games are always going to be tough, right? But I honestly believe that comfortably, we could possibly beat them by like 3 touchdowns, maybe 2 or 3 touchdowns.
Okay.
So
I like your optimism, Santiago.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised at all if we keep on beating them for the next year or two, by 3 touchdowns or so. Because listen, last year they were 5-12. Nothing as special at all, unfortunately, with McCaffrey out, and then they're stuck with Darnold. Yeah, Carter, you mentioned it. Hassan Reddick's out. Nothing really, any earth-shattering kind of big moves they've been making. They lost some draft capital, as you said as well, Carter, to get Darnold. They are in some murky, troubling waters, and I also feel that at this point, I feel like a lot of teams, or even, unfortunately, a lot of even their own fans, don't have much expectations. There's always going to be teams every year in every league that, I don't know, that just kind of just lay low or whatever, So this is the kind of team, they're exactly 5-12. So, people like the Texans, Giants, Jets, Lions, Jaguars, to me, those kind of teams, I was not really too what's that called? Aware nor interested in whatever kind of wins, losses, or moves they made, just because, at this point, they're absolutely nowhere near becoming the Super Bowl champs. They're nowhere near as competitive as, the Buccaneers. So the fact that there are some extremely kind of non-threatening teams like the Panthers just wants me to, I'll probably just give them the D grade. I would give them an incomplete grade. You ever get those incomplete things on your report card, listeners, or even Carter or Santiago? I hope not. And that's not really something ideal, but I remember in my elementary, middle school, or even high school, I remember sometimes if you didn't go to class that much, or if you were just you didn't even complete that many assignments, you did like D bare minimum, and you were bad at it, you would get an I on your report card. And that's something I would just give the Panthers. At this point, they haven't showed me anything at all. No turned in assignments. They haven't taken any exams. They've had no real tests. And yeah, they've been doing horrible. Yeah, 5-12 is something they should be happy about, if anything, the way their situation was looking like last year and even this year as well. So there you go. I'll get off my little Panthers are absolutely kind of irrelevant soapbox, and we shall transition on to our next and final division rival, the Atlanta Falcons. Carter, where's your head at with that? I mean, I'll give you the kind of brief little report card or kind of updates, if anything. I mean, listen, we already know Matt Ryan to the Colts. We got Marcus Mariota, or not we, but they got Marcus Mariota now. Dante Fowler is gone to the Cowboys. They got Matt Gano, who is also headed out, and he is with the New York Giants. Cordell Patterson stays, so hey, all right, whoop-de-doo, that's nice, but I mean, it's like if anything, that's like a hidden gem in an ugly field of just extinct, damaged rocks, is the way I would say it. And I apologize if I'm a little too harsh, any Falcon listeners out there, but it is what it is. Hayden Hurst is gone as well. He's like, hey, let me give a shot to the Cincinnati Bengals. You know, they already made it so far, so let me head on over there. And then Chris Oluokun, linebacker as well. He's headed to the Jags. So it's like, oh my gosh. You're probably asking me, Musaab, everyone's is leaving, huh? Yeah, well, the next guy who wanted to leave, or one of the other guys who wanted to leave, was Russell Gage, who is now with our Tampa Bay Buccaneers, of course. So that was a rather interesting and nice little depth piece we snagged. And if anything, it's like the people they got right now, or the people they are going to get currently, or even in this draft, look to just be possibly starters. If anything, they're looking kind of desperate. The only other big update I have more than anything since last time we briefly talked about him was just that Vincent Taylor, defensive tackle from the Texans, didn't get too much action at all with the Texans. In fact, he did a little bit of damage with the Miami Dolphins, but the way I kind of see it, yeah, you know, they got him, possible starter, more like a depth piece. I feel the same way as I do, you know, with the Panthers, in that the Falcons are looking very messy. If anything, it's like maybe Marcus Mariota can, you know, try to make a difference. He was also, you know, he's not some earth-shattering guy that they got or anything. OMG, we got Mariota. We are in this to win it. I don't think so. I don't know. For me, it's just like, okay, dude, it was kind of ugly. If anything, I'll give him like a D-, because fine, maybe I'll give him a D+, C- if the Mariota thing works out, but kind of indifferent, just maybe a D or C. I don't know. Again, it's like, guys, the way my head's at right now is just like, okay, they were already kind of doing a little bit ugly, and if anything, it's going to maybe just stay the same. They'll plateau this year, fortunately / unfortunately for them. I don't know, but Carter, where's your head at?
I don't know if I agree with plateau. I think they're going to get worse. But I'd give them a D-, and I'm really close to giving them an F based on how their draft goes. And I have a sneaky suspicion they're going to draft a quarterback, because they, you know, panicked and drafted Kyle Pitts last season instead of drafting, you know, a franchise quarterback, which they desperately needed. And it was a decent enough quarterback class last season. They could have maybe gotten Justin Fields and sat him for a year or something, but instead they have an incredibly talented tight end with no one to throw him the damn ball. So, you know, it's brutal. Their defense looks rough. Their offensive line is below average at best. Cordero Patterson's a nice weapon, but you know, what purpose does he serve? Same with Kyle Pitts. They lost Calvin Ridley for the year. Their one valuable trade piece that they could have, he's suspended because of the gambling thing. They, God, yeah.
Is that why you're not a gambling man, Carter?
I, I guess so. I mean, if you want to put it that way. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I wake up every morning and I'm glad that I'm not a Falcons fan, and that's how I'll end it. Yep.
I feel the same way, Carter. I wake up every morning knowing that I'm not a Falcons fan, and knowing, fortunately, I didn't lose any money by gambling. So there's that. Great minds don't gamble alike. But Santiago, whether you're a gambling man or not, that's another story. But I want to see where your head is at in regards to the Falcons. Maybe plateau, get worse. What's your grade, and any other additional comments?
I'm gonna give him an F. You know why? Because when you have a player, that gets caught for gambling in today's day and age, and the way he does, and is going to be suspended for a year, not, come on, man, and you do that to your team. No way, no. That's and then plus, they lose Matt Ryan and stuff, which is, yeah, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame one day. You know what I mean? So I mean, he took that team on his back. If he would have had, if it would have been Matt Ryan there, okay, maybe a C, right? Because that Matt Ryan is a tremendous, was before we had our Hall of Fame quarterback up here. He caused a lot of headaches here, for our team for sure. But yeah, I definitely am gonna I'll give him an F. So, and if nobody else wants to give him an F, I'll be the one that gives him an F. So, and then Russell, Gage is a quarterback. He says, you know what, I'm gonna get out of this, turbulent water, and I'm gonna go on a pirate ship down to Tampa Bay and align myself with the best team in football. So that's what that's how I look at it. And I agree with what Carter was saying, and what the input that you're giving a lot, with all the team, all of our rivals, So I believe if I want to give them a record on how many games they could possibly, with their record of the year, if they won barely 5 games last year, I'm going to put them that they're probably going to win 3 games this year, because it's going to be turbulent. If they decide to go with a top quarterback in the draft, it really depends. Possibly if I'm a GM, I'm going to be getting a quarterback in the first round. But
yeah, I think the quarterback situation thing is definitely looking very, very interesting over there right now, and I would not be surprised at all if they kind of reach for a quarterback in round 1 or round 2, just because it's needed for sure, and at least let the guy maybe sit out a year or 2 and learn or whatever. But I mean, again, it's not like Mariota's anything special either, so if they can find a guy who can, help him out big time, then so be it. This is just an extremely, extremely desperate need to rebuild, and they just got to do the best they can right now. If I was a Falcons fan, that's just the way I'd be feeling. Is this, hey, listen, it's gonna take some time, but so be it, And again, I don't have like a good grade for them. I'll probably just say D. Do you see? Maybe no. Honestly, I don't even say C anymore. I'll probably just stick with D. But hey, listeners, I'm gonna say this though. We've been giving some bad grades out here, of course, just because that's just how the teams turn out to be. Unfortunately, /fortunately for us, D's and F's and all that. But let me tell you something. Oh well, of course, our Buccaneers are A, of course, but what also deserves an A plus or is an A plus is shop.rblrsports.com. Listeners, as you know, liking and subscribing is free. But if you ever need some A-plus threads, summer's coming around the corner, time to get some summer shopping done, end of the school year, get a little vacation time or whatever, you can head on over and support this podcast and go to shop.rblrsports.com and check out all of our sick and cool designs we got for you. We got shirts in the colors of all of our beloved teams. We got designs honoring the football team, the hockey team, the soccer team, and the baseball team. And let me bless you with a little promo code, of course. That is Cannons, CANNONS, for 10% off your order. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a link right in the description. All right, well, let's link on to the next segment. All right, and that is the draft. All right, we kind of talked about our draft needs, prospects, round by round, priority by priority from 1 to 6. But I mean, if you got to rank, sweet. If you don't, that's great either. But where's your head at right now, based on what you've been reading, you've been kind of hearing, based on what we know, guys, about each team's holes that they need to fill? What do you think about the Saints? And before I kind of give you the mic, Carter, let me just kind of give you a little brief rundown as to the big kind of depth pieces they'll be needing to fill, or if those who have been filled. I would probably just say, look, Michael Thomas there, it's wide receiver, Callaway wide receiver, Traquan Smith, still wide receiver. James Hurst, don't know much about him, but he's at left tackle. Nothing big from him. More than anything, it's Winston's at quarterback. Taysom Hill would be now focusing on the tight end role. Let's see what goes on with Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara, of course. But there's that. On the other end, they got Cam Jordan, Shai Tuttle, Demario Davis, linebacker, CJ Gardner-Johnson, all right, who's a safety, Marcus May, they picked up Daniel Sorensen as well, Marshawn Lattimore, cornerback, PJ Williams. I just wanted to kind of drop those names out there just to kind of let you all know where they're at right now, to allow Carter and Santiago to see where, what the situation's looking like. And I do want to mention, as I already did before, Quan Alexander is still unsigned, so there's something to think about that. And Kenny Stills, of course. So after everything I've said, I believe I mentioned all the positions as well. What are the Saints' draft needs? We'll start out with you, Carter. What are the, at least maybe position or 2 or 3 that you have in mind?
Yeah, that's the thing about the Saints, that they actually have a pretty solid roster. They don't really have any huge needs, but the needs that they do have are pretty glaring. They're pretty well balanced across the board. They've got a decent enough offensive line, except for the left tackle position, with the departure of Teron Armstead, which is, of course, a big hole to replace, because he was one of the best in the NFL. Really great player. And then, of course, the wide receiver position, as we've gone over a bunch of times, Jarvis Landry's visiting, but, they need some talent at that position, because they've needed some talent for quite a few years. I think Jamison Williams out of Bama is a great prospect to look at for them, especially since they have 2 first-round picks. They'll probably spend one on the wide receiver position, the other on the offensive tackle, or maybe they throw in a linebacker, since they're losing Quan Alexander, and Demario Davis is really their only solid linebacker right now. I mean, they've got Pete Warner and maybe Zach Baum, I think his name is. But, they could go there. They could also maybe go tight end, although, like you mentioned, Taysom Hill is not going to be a quarterback anymore. They're saying, all right, you're just a tight end now. So, we'll see. But I think wide receiver, tackle, definitely easily the 2 biggest holes. And who knows, crazier things have happened. Maybe they fall in love with one of the quarterbacks in this draft class. And maybe they take a swing at that. But, yeah, we'll definitely see how it goes. The Saints are one of the more intriguing teams going into this year's draft for sure.
And what about you, Santiago?
Well, when I look at the Saints, so I agree with what Carter just said. I think out of our rivals in our division, when I look at, the quarterbacks that they have, with Andy Dalton, he was a franchise quarterback for his team, for his previous team before he came to New Orleans. So, again, I don't see that many holes. Somebody like Quan Alexander, when he was with the Bucs, he played, he gave his heart out on the field, for the Peter, for our organization. So, You know, to be honest with you, yeah, whenever you look at a draft, to be honest with you, you can always look at maybe offensive line, possibly defensive line. You know, that there's plenty of, you could definitely put any type of player specifically from Bama or from Georgia, with some of the players that are coming out of into this draft right now. So, definitely I don't want them to be super stacked, on the offensive line or the defensive line coming after my Buccaneers. But, if I'm a GM, I'm definitely going to be looking at that. And you can't go wrong with a top wide receiver. So, I agree with that as well.
Yeah, I would probably just say, yeah, wide receiver, left tackle is something they'll definitely need to prioritize just with Armstead gone and then the wide receiver situation. I've heard, these talks here and there sometimes with the whole quarterback. I think that Andy Dalton now joining them is kind of, no more in the equation anymore, of course. And, they just got a guy, Ian Book, as well. So I don't know why they would do anything like that. So it's wide receiver and left tackle for me as well, just because of their needs. I mean, overall, though, their roster looks fine. It's not like, oh, my God, there's so many holes to fill. It's just here and there. They got some things to fix up. And I think it's just going to turn out to be more than anything like a team chemistry kind of situation. I just feel like there are a few important roles that need to be filled or / have been filled / have been upgraded, downgraded, whatever. And for that reason, the Saints just have a lot to work on. And those are the positions I'm thinking they need to look into. I don't have any kind of player in mind or anything, but I will say that their first pick in round 1 will be number 16, and that's from Philadelphia. They made some interesting kind of pick trades or whatever, and they were able to at least get number 16 now. So there's that. So that means well, actually, I will say they have another one in 19, which is very, very important to mention as well. I totally forgot that at first, but I do want to let you know, yeah, they have picked 16 and 19, both from Philadelphia. So that's important. And I mean, they'd be kind of stupid not to at least get a wide receiver, a left tackle in the early rounds for sure, if not round 1, of course. Well, that's just kind of my little gist on the Saints, or our gist, and we shall transition on to our less competitive friends. I will say that. Try to be as respectful as I can. Our less competitive friends, Mr. D and Mr. F, or Mr. Incomplete Grade. Let's just start out with the Panthers. Carter, where's your head at with the Panthers? Obviously, poor Panther fans, not the actual Panthers. That's on them. Poor Panthers fans are suffering with Sam Darnold the way I see it. They definitely need some help overall in the O-line, of course, just because I don't know who they're protecting, but they need to protect someone for sure. Duh. And then, if anything, what are some other positions that you have in mind? Or if you want to elaborate with the quarterback and O-line situation, by all means do so.
Yeah, and it's just always so frustrating to cover NFL teams that need quarterbacks, because instead of, building the team around the quarterback position and then drafting a quarterback, they'll always rush to draft their franchise quarterback and then just set them up for failure and give them an awful supporting cast. And then the quarterback will struggle because they're a young rookie, because they're learning a playbook, they're learning how to play in the NFL. And, they'll struggle immensely, and the team will continue to be bad, and then they'll just keep going through the same vicious cycle. GMs will be fired, coaches will be fired. So it's frustrating to deal with, and I think the Panthers are going to start this cycle. We've seen the Jets do it with Sam Darnold, and now they're on their way to doing it with Zach Wilson too. Hopefully I'm wrong, but yeah, I don't know. Quarterback's obviously a big need because Sam Darnold is not the answer moving forward, but he's on their roster, so they'll probably run him out there. But they could, take a swing at the 6th pick, and, Malik Willis is pretty good. Kenny Pickett's a decent option. Sam Howell out of North Carolina is an okay option. I'm not sold on any of them, but I know that quarterback is the most important position in the NFL, and teams seem to love to draft him in the first round, so I think they will. But they really need some offensive line help because, like you said, no matter who they've got back there, they need to give them at least more time than they were giving Sam Darnold or Cam Newton last season, because it was getting ridiculous. It was getting awful just watching a revolving door basically at the offensive line position. They would have let me and you guys in if we were rushing the passer, so it was bad to watch, and it was tough to watch. So yeah, offensive line is their biggest need, but I have a sneaky suspicion that they're going to draft a quarterback.
Well, there you have it, RBLR. We are now going to be making a field trip next time we play the Carolina Panthers. Please, by all means, buy a little Panthers jersey. Try to get your football pads as well, and we will do our best to sneak into the field and try to tackle Sam Darnold or whoever is their quarterback. Well, Santiago, my first question is, would you like to participate? And second, what are your overall thoughts on the draft needs for the Carolina Panthers?
Yeah, I agree. Sam Darnold for me is not the answer. I'm glad we have our quarterback situation taken care of. Because we were kind of in the same boat, right? But I'm glad we have that. But yeah. Same. You can never. Yeah, Sam Darnold struggled when he was in New York, right? And being that in general, like the Jets and the Giants, they're in the biggest media market in our country. They get all that pressure on them. They can't. You got to have somebody that can deal with pressure, right? So, and that's even if you're in Carolina as well, right? I mean, there's not that much pressure because they're so bad right now. But this is a team that went to the Super Bowl. They played against they went to the Super Bowl and they played against Peyton Manning and Super Bowl 50, and they lost, but they are a Super Bowl. They are a team that has that experience, and if they can get a GM that knows what he's doing, then they can definitely. I would draft a quarterback, because you just never know, right? I would draft a quarterback, and quarterback. You have Kenny Pickett out of Pittsburgh. Obviously another quarterback that came out of Pittsburgh the year I was born was Dan Marino. Look what he came to be, right? Hall of Fame quarterback. Then you also have, from Mississippi, Matt Corral, and teams that come out of the SEC. Any of the big conferences, but especially SEC, I believe that they're the ones that are most better prepared. With the competition that they have between themselves.
Yeah,
And
Santiago.
so,
I mean, you think? I mean, listen. I mean, to all of our listeners as well. Let me give you the rundown as we've already discussed before. They gave 3 draft picks away to the Jets to get Darnold, and for that reason, their draft picks go from round 1, and then the next one is round 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's a huge gap, and I want to know, Santiago, is there any chance they're going to want to snag a quarterback then? Because that's going to be their best hope.
I would.
So yes or no?
Yeah, I would. I would snatch a quarterback.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
I mean,
okay. No,
because
sounds
again,
good.
because sorry to interrupt you, Musa, but I agree with what what both of you gentlemen were saying. Like Sam Darnold is not the answer. Like he, he's he reminds me of sorry, but when Trent Dilfer wasn't doing well here in Tampa, kind of reminds me of that. Maybe he's the type of quarterback you have to have like a good team around him for him to shine. I mean, and Carolina is definitely not it.
Yeah, Carter. So I know you said you want to focus on or you think they need to focus on the offensive line. Are you gonna kind of stick with that? Because I want to know as well. I mean, yeah, the round 1 to 4 huge gap. So you think they're just gonna be like, let's play it safe and actually get an offensive lineman and just see from there what goes on? Or you're thinking, oh Lord, no, we need a quarterback like now, and now.
Yeah, I mean, what I would love for them to do if I were the Panthers GM, which obviously I'm not, but if I were the Panthers GM, I would be looking to trade back. I would love, because they just have so many holes on that offensive line. And this isn't a top heavy draft class. There's not a lot of high end talent towards the top, but it's a very deep draft class. So I think if they traded back, maybe with a quarterback hungry team like the Steelers, or maybe, the Vikings, because the Vikings have been stuck with Kirk Cousins the past few years, and he's getting a little expensive for the amount of production that he's putting up. But maybe they would look to trade back. The Giants traded back with the Bears last season so that the Bears could get Justin Fields, and now they've got 2 top 10 first round picks, which is absolutely nuts. And I think that, maybe the Panthers could get one of those types of deals going, for hopefully for Malik Willis, because I think he's the best quarterback prospect in this draft. But, teams love to trade up for quarterbacks. We saw the Bears do it for Mitchell Trubisky. We saw Washington do it for Robert Griffin III. We saw San Francisco did it for Trey Lance last season. So teams love to trade up for quarterbacks, and I think the Panthers could take advantage of this, and they could just retool their roster and really rebuild it well instead of just panicking and drafting a quarterback and, doing the whole spaghetti thing where you just throw it against the wall and hope something sticks. So, yeah, that's what I would do. But obviously, I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to take a quarterback because that seems to be the prevailing line of thinking in the NFL right now.
Yeah, I would probably just go with O-line. It's going to be way too risky to get a quarterback at this point. It's already looking so ugly for them right now, and it's like, oh, Lord, there's a huge gap. And it would, if I was a GM, I would be playing a little bit safe and say, let's prioritize getting, the best offensive lineman we can. And that's just, that's kind of just the way I feel, is just that it's looking real bad for them more than anything. They are probably the number one team that has to be very, 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 or actually, they probably have to be the most careful in round one as to who they pick, just because I don't think there's any other team that has such a huge gap in the draft, and that's just important. I mean, just imagine you're a Panthers fan and you're like, hey, okay, round one, we got our, we got the 6th pick. All right, yay, whoop-de-doo. Okay, well, guess what? You have to wait through round 2. Well, first of all, the rest of round 1, the rest of round 2, and the rest of round 3. And then you finally get, your next guy in round 4, and it's like pick number 137. All right, so it's like, okay, dude, let's see at that point who you're able to get. So that's just the way I feel. And I think all of our heads are kind of feeling the same way overall. Is just that, they're going to have to be real careful. But Santiago, I like that hot take. I think, so maybe there's a possible chance they will go quarterback. Do you have anyone in mind or no?
Anyone in mind? Myself? If I was a GM, I would go. If Kenny Pickett's is taken, I mean,
Yep.
I would go with Matt Corral from Mississippi. He's ranked number 3.
At that point, Matt Corral, Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis. No way, all three of them are gone by the time it's the Panthers' turn. So, that's the same way I feel. I mean, I haven't really looked too much into these guys just because ever since, the GOAT came back, and I just never really thought about ever looking into a quarterback after that. And, they've all done real well in college. Let's just see how that transitions on in the NFL. So we'll see what happens. We are in for a treat to see how our rivals do. But we can't forget about the also rather interesting and our fellow less competitive rival compared to the Saints, or honestly, even the Panthers as well. It's looking kind of bad, gentlemen, eh? Well, that is the Atlanta Falcons. Carter, if you were the Atlanta Falcons GM, while you're wiping your tears, waiting for the day that things finally do get better, which is very, very far away the way I see it, to BH. Sorry, Falcon fans, but then again, not sorry. Where's your head at if you were the Falcons GM and you're like, all right, who do I need to pick?
So the Falcons are in a bit more of a bit more advantageous situation because, like you mentioned, the Panthers have that huge drop-off in draft capital after the first round. The Falcons actually have some picks. And they also got the second rounder from the Colts in the Matt Ryan deal. So they have a few picks, but, they're in a similar situation. They have a lot of holes they could use. Their number one need, though, has to be a pass rusher. I know they're tempted to go quarterback, but good Lord, their defense is just so bad. I mean, it's bad. It's terrible. And they've got some talent there. They've got Deion Jones, a great middle linebacker. A.J. Terrell, that phenomenal young corner they got out of Clemson a couple years ago in the first round. He had a great second year. He really came out on fire. So they've got some good pieces, but they just got to be able to get after the quarterback because, man, I mean, they lost Dante Fowler, and Dante Fowler wasn't even really that good of an edge rusher, but he was their best edge rusher, and that's terrible. So it's tough because there's not really a dominant force on the edge in this year's draft class, but They really need to address it. So maybe they're a candidate to trade back. But then again, most NFL GMs, they're quarterback happy, so maybe they'll draft Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis like the Panthers and screw themselves over for the next 5 years. So we'll see how it goes. But I don't know. It's depressing. It's definitely a depressing draft upcoming for the Falcons.
Yeah, I think the Falcons by all means can definitely make it a lot more less depressing than the Panthers can, of course, because as you just said, yeah, they got some advantageous picks kind of, later on. I mean, look, right, round 1. So round 1, pick number 8, round 2, pick number 43, round 2, pick number 58, round 3, 74, round 3, 82. And then from there, it's kind of just, your 4, 5, 6, 6. So that kind of from 1 to 3, I mean, yeah, you got options. And if they play their cards right, it can be a little less depressing for sure. But I mean, I'm going to say this, it don't matter. Even if they get, good guys and all, well, I mean, they can't get, great guys in every single one of those rounds to be able to just fire up the team to do so much better than they did last year. If anything, they might get 2, max 3 good guys who can at least give them a boost. But I mean, that's just if they're lucky. So that's just kind of how I feel. Santiago, what about you?
Yeah, I think if you're correct, man. If you're an Atlanta Falcons fan, I bet you wish you won that Super Bowl against the Patriots back then, because that would have probably got you like a lot of happiness. You know what I'm saying? Because these days it's going to be kind of dark for the Falcons. Like it's going to be rough, and they let possibly their main piece go, and that's Matt Ryan. You know what I mean? And he went to Indianapolis. So, but if I was a GM going into with as many draft picks, picks as they have in this draft, I would try and get as many quality players because, at least to be maybe, coming in maybe third place in our division, possibly, because, it's, first place, I see we're going to blow it out of the water, definitely. But, we're going to be in the top. But other than that, I see that yeah, man, when you have Marcus Mariota, he was a high, prospected quarterback coming into, when he was drafted, but he's a decent quarterback. He's not, obviously, as we talked before many times, college is different from pro. So it's, but
Well, I mean, I guess Santiago, how much can a decent quarterback do on the Atlanta Falcons?
No, it's gonna be decent. You know what I mean? Like, that's why you have to get like a, possibly if it's not the Panthers, or if it's not, obviously the Saints, they don't need a quarterback really, but if it's not the Panthers, but the quarterback that I selected from, that I told you about, Matt Corral from Mississippi, if he's on the board and he's third on many mock drafts, like I would select him as the first pick in the draft. I would do that.
All right,
to be honest with you, just to cover that hole.
Your support and optimism for Matt Corral. Matt Corral, if you're listening to this, by all means, please buy my friend Santiago a signed jersey. Of course, please make sure it's signed, especially if you're not going to be on our team. Then he can just sell it off and make more money to buy a Mike Evans or Godwin jersey. But before I keep going on with that, I think, listen, they're probably just going to need to prioritize people like edge rushers, wide receiver, and offensive line more than anything. I don't think they're going to be trying to reach for a quarterback. Maybe later on, that's going to be like, okay, let's see what's available. I don't think they're going to be able to want to prioritize that or should prioritize that at all if I'm the Falcons GM. It's time to kind of make some big moves, in first one, round 1, 2, and 3. And I would say, round 1, 2, 3, aka that's like wide receiver, O-line, edge rusher, might as well even safety help. They need ends on both ends. Honestly, they got a lot of holes to fill, and I wish them all the best. And I think they have a lot of opportunities they can take advantage of. But we'll see how that goes, because every single year in the NFL draft, it's like there's always these picks that always make you scratch your head. And I have to say, Carter, the way you were kind of calling out Kyle Pitts, unfortunately being such a key weapon, but with no one around him, so good as him, then it's like, well, what was the point? So that's always going to happen every single year, whether it be our team or another team. There's always picks like that, and always makes me scratch my head. But, well, do we have any kind of head scratching hot takes for these teams overall? And I also want to know, guys, final thoughts / kind of prediction for this upcoming season. If you are, you're the GM of the Saints, Carter, okay? You see someone at the bar, they find out, OMG, Carter's the GM for the Saints. They're going to be like, oh, my God. All right, Carter, tell me everything, or tell me how you feel. How do you feel about this upcoming season? How is it looking as of today? How is it looking? And, maybe, listen, drop your record prediction as well.
Yeah, I think if I have to drop my record prediction for the Saints, it obviously depends on how the draft goes, but I'd have to say probably 8-9. It's probably my best guess. They're a decent enough team, but it's going to be a tough sell for me. It may be if they hit a home run with one of their first round picks, if they hit a home run with the wide receiver position, either through free agency with Jarvis Landry, or if maybe they draft Williams and he turns out to be, like the next Jalen Waddle or something. Maybe they can make some noise, but there's too many variables, too many what ifs with the Saints. So I think 8-9 is a solid guess. Miss the playoffs. That's what I got for the Saints.
8-9. All right. What about you, Santiago?
Yeah, I mean, the Saints are always, I think, out of our division rivals, they're the ones that are, they have a better core of players, with, and many of their, Alvin Kamara for being one of them, and so if I would have to give I would give the same, I would give the same, the same win-loss record for them, 8-9. Yeah, I wouldn't go even, but or more wins than losses. I would go more losses than wins, because nowadays in the NFL you have to like teams like the Bucs, like the Cincinnati Bengals, they're spending a lot of, they're doing a lot to compete for a Super Bowl. And there are teams that are other teams like the Saints, the Falcons and stuff like that. They're not there yet. So, I mean,
I feel the same way as y'all. I'm thinking 8-9 or 9-8 at best. They got a lot of things to work on or anything. They're our only like real competitor, and I think they should be doing fairly well. But I mean, they got some competition this upcoming season on their schedule, whether that be us or not us. So it's going to be a dogfight for sure. A lot of the games for them, and that's really about it. Though I'm glad we kind of agree on that. But I will not be surprised if we have some disagreements as to how bad the Panthers and Falcons will be. Let's just kind of be blunt about it. Carter, where's your head at with the Panthers? Personally, I don't have much to say, but I want to hear you first, of course. Overall thoughts, and then your final kind of record prediction.
Yeah, I mean, the one silver lining you can point to with the Panthers is that their secondary is pretty solid, and their defense is at least going to be above average. However, there's only so much a defense can do if your offense is turning the ball over a lot, and it seems like that might be the case this year. It's the same, same with the Saints. The draft is just so important, and them missing their second and third round picks this year is disgusting, brutal, terrible, because they could have really used them to fill up that offensive line. But instead, they're going to have to, they're just going to have to run what they got, and what they got ain't too good. So I'm going to be a little more optimistic. I think that with their defense being as strong as it is, they can go 6-11. But even that's a stretch. I wouldn't be surprised if they dropped all the way down to 4-13 or 3-14. But I think realistically speaking, I think 6-11 is a very, very doable projection. I think they'll fire Matt Rule after the season, just use him as a scapegoat for what is a very flawed franchise and roster. But 6-11 is my pick.
All right. What about you, Santiago?
I'm gonna go 4-13, because when you have that many holes and you're so, you definitely have to, you have to really look at the draft and be like perfect, And honestly, I would try and, like I said before, I would try and get as many draft picks as possible because, you really need to. You cannot just just give away draft picks and then for like next year. And if you like a lot of teams are doing, they're trying to win now. So I would go for 4 and 13. It's just I'm gonna go low because
Yeah,
it's
and
frustrating.
I'm
Man.
going low. I'm going low with you. I'm running with it as well, Santiago. I don't think it's going to be looking that pretty at all for them. You know what? Maybe I might be a little nice to them, and maybe I'll say, you know what? Maybe something like 5 and 12 or 6 and 11. Honestly, it's really important what they do this draft. I think they have opportunities, but again, it's a very, very big year for rebuilding. And I can definitely see Matt Roya kind of leaving, being a good scapegoat for what is rather an interesting situation right now in the Carolina Panthers organization. And I think it's also looking super, super weird, interesting, kind of scary if you're a Falcons fans or in Atlanta right now, just because I don't know. I mean, at best, I'm thinking 5 and 12. It's looking real ugly, but they got opportunities as well, more than anything, especially in this draft to get some key picks, key guys, whether that means reliable depth pieces or even starters at this point. But I'm gonna say I'm gonna drop my little pick right now and say I think they're gonna go at best 5 and 12, but if nothing happens from the draft, then I'm thinking like 3 and 14. It's going to be very, very ugly for them, unfortunately. But Carter, what about you?
Yeah, I think 5 and 12 is a very realistic possibility. I think if they play their cards correctly and if they, trade back maybe, or if they just spend their picks wisely instead of just jumping at a quarterback and hoping that it works out, I think they could build a solid team with the amount of picks that they have and with the talent that they already have on the roster. As limited as it may be, there are some good players on the Falcons, and if they, like I said, if they build around them correctly, I mean, they've got Kyle Hamilton out of Notre Dame is a beast of a safety. I think they would be really wise to draft him. He could really transform their defense, I think, and I think that would be a perfect hand in glove fit. And then the rest of their picks could just be spent wide receiver, offensive line, or what have you. And if they played their cards correctly, they could be a decent enough team, and they could wait until next year to draft their franchise quarterback. And hopefully that's what they do. But deep down, I think we all know that that's probably not what they're going to do. And I think if things go poorly, like you mentioned, it could go as bad as 3 or 14, or maybe 2 and 15. It could go real south real quickly. But realistically, 5 and 11, definitely a solid choice for their record.
Santiago, what about you?
I went with our previous. I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'll do the same thing as Carter. I'm not gonna. I don't. Even with how bad our rivals are, they can still be kind of competitive. You know what I mean? And we do have a good record. Sometimes with teams from other divisions and stuff. So, so yeah, I'm gonna give it the same. I'm definitely gonna give the same record as Carter right now.
I think overall, guys, listen, overall, I think it's just going to be rather unfortunate for the people like Falcons and the Panthers, even some other teams in the NFL. But more than anything, I think both of those teams, if we were to play them right now, I think it would just be competitive for the first like 3 or 4 minutes, and then we just run away with it. I think we are way, way higher and at another different level. Fortunately, I can say that. And I think the Saints are way ahead of them as well. But you never know what happens. Injuries happen here and there. So I like how we all kind of had the same kind of thing where it's like at best maybe they can kind of hit this, but as of right now it's looking kind of ugly for these teams or whatever, et cetera, et cetera. So all right. Well, hey, appreciate y'all's insight, Carter and Santiago. And by no means could I ever finish this episode without saying thank you to our listeners. We really appreciate you giving us a chance. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post it about on social media, leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest, of course, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at RBLR Sports. All right. Well, we hope you enjoyed our deep dive into all things divisional rival related. Tune in next week where we have a little fun with it, Carter and Santiago and listeners. NFL draft preview time. Time for the RBLR Bucs final mock draft. Next week, it shall begin. We'll be checking out, all the draft fun. So for that reason, stay fired up. Draft day, Tampa Bay. It's a brand new season, and you best believe our Bucs are ready to play. Thanks again, and as always, listeners, go Bucs.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.